every sensor soar in search of answers.
We already know that Mass Effect 3 is on the way. In fact, Mass Effect 2 blatantly tells us that Mass Effect 3 is on the way. But its official announcement came at the Spike VGAs this past year. What BioWare wants to accomplish with this particular piece of DLC is to bridge the second game into the third game and prepare players for the eventful day later in the year when Mass Effect 3 finally drops. Here's the question though. Is the DLC Arrival really worth the $7 price point that BioWare is asking? Why don't we dive in and see if this one should be arriving on your console. Eli, where you...
We have a deep cover operative out in Batarian space. Name's Dr. Amanda Kenson. Dr. Kenson recently reported that she found evidence of an imminent Reaper invasion.
So why call me?
The storyline of Arrival starts with good Yalman Kelly telling you to go to your desk and check and see if you have a new message. Well, turns out you do. From the one and only Admiral Hackett from the last game, who you actually haven't heard a peep out of during this game, mostly due to the fact that you're working for Cerberus now. Admiral Hackett informs you that he has a friend who has gone missing in Batarian space on charges of terrorism, no less. He asked you to personally go into a Batarian prison, find the doctor, get her out, and figure out exactly what she was talking about when it comes to an imminent Reaper invasion. From there, you bust the doctor out and find out exactly what the details are as to how she knows this invasion is imminent and what they can do to possibly stop it. When it comes to the plot is good, the storyline is interesting, and during the course of the game I never found myself unglued from the screen. But the problem with it is that there is a plot twist here that will remain unsaid, and it simply is not subtle enough. BioWare has a penchant for, well, putting forward great stories that are consistently believable, and it really seems a little lazy that these guys would have such an obvious plot twist in this. Other than that, the storyline is invigorating, to be quite honest, and it does a very good job of setting up for Mass Effect 3, but that one little detail that it screws up on hampers the entire DLC. When it comes to presentation and Arrival, there really isn't a whole lot to say. It looks like Mass Effect 2, it plays like Mass Effect 2, it smells like Mass Effect 2, if that's possible. It is Mass Effect 2. But there's a couple things that I might as well talk about that help set the scene for this particular story within a story. Usage of lighting in the prison section is solid, and other than that, the graphics are, as I said, the same as they were beforehand. But that little thing helps set the mood quite well. The one thing about the presentation that I really do believe needs to be stated, though, is that the soundtrack is used properly. Now, Jack Wall and Sam Hulick have had fantastic work in the Mass Effect series up to this point, but as most of us know, a good soundtrack is one thing. But a good soundtrack combined with good pacing and timing and its usage is something else. It's something that we learned from Akira Yamaoka in Silent Hill 2, and it's something that we will continue to learn as gaming goes on. Oh, since I usually go over voice acting during this part, let me just say this. Lance Henriksen's back, as Admiral Hackett. I don't really need to say much more. Lance Henriksen's awesome. Let's move on, shall we? When it comes to the gameplay of Mass Effect 2, it's the same blend of shooter and RPG that the last game was. Perfect hybrid, nothing else that needs to be said about it. The levels are designed pretty well, though there's a couple odd enemy placements that can lead to cheap deaths. Now I'm all for something being challenging, and this particular DLC is incredibly challenging, even on an easier difficulty setting, and you're never going to find yourself too overwhelmed, but there will be points where you'll be proverbially biting your nails because of how tense the combat is. However, there's a couple really odd enemy placements in it that can lead to cheap deaths if you're not careful. And to be quite honest with you, this is what I call artificial difficulty. There's no point in putting enemies in odd places to make something tough. It was tough enough already, no point in being cheap. However, the last note that I have to make about this is that this content is abysmally short. Abysmally short, to the point where it's giving your wallet the finger. It feels like it would have benefited from another month of development. In fact, to give you the accurate amount of time that I spent in this game, it was 1 hour, 6 minutes, and 39 seconds for $7. What? Despite the quality of what's in this package, what little content there is here does not justify a $7 asking price, even though there's a couple of really interesting and epic moments in this downloadable content. Were this content around $4 or so, I would recommend it immediately and could give this a soaring high score, but I can't. Due to the rushed feeling and the fact that it's so short, I cannot give this game any more than a 5. It's strictly average for what you're getting, and I can only recommend it to die-hard fans of Mass Effect 2, and even then I'm hesitant. Listen, don't touch this one unless you're a Mass Effect 2 fan, and you have to know how the second game is going to be properly bridged into the third. And even then, wait until the sucker goes on sale. For the full write-up, visit blisteredthumbs.net.